Nigeria, we held our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. There must be Nigerians before Nigeria. And this takes us to the current effort by the National Assembly to revert to the old and initial Nigerian national anthem. Well, this is a positive step and in the right direction, if and only if they will have the courage to take it to the end, because this will require dismantling all the political vestiges that had held Nigeria hostage and stagnated all this well. Now, the problems of Nigeria basically will have to be traced honestly to where did we miss our steps. We missed our steps in 1966 with the Root military interregnum that altered the political landscape and also changed the architecture of the Nigerian political system. And when in 1979 the military decided to vacate power, they constituted a 50-man constitutional conference, which they referred to as the 50 wise men. One of them resigned, and they were 49. And so, in their own modest wisdom, they felt the system which was introduced by the Republican Constitution of 1963, which is the parliamentary system, was the problem, because in their own words, it had what we call winners take all. So if you lose in the elections, you lose all. You are not accommodated anywhere in the government. So they went for the presidential system. But they did not take into consideration, the future political behavior of the Nigerian political elites or so-called political class. And so that was introduced hook, line, and sinker. And since the introduction of the presidential system of government in 1979, Nigeria had been navigating rudderlessly on the high political sea, confronting different storms without a direction. Permit me to put into perspectives why Nigeria adopted the parliamentary system. The parliamentary system with a federal arrangement was a child of circumstance occasioned by the Several Motion of 1953, which was moved by Chief Naharo. Now, that motion actually introduced sharp division between the two political dichotomies brought together in 1914, referred to as Nigeria. The British were not committed to the development of Nigeria. Rather, they were hypocritically convinced that they needed to package an arrangement that will facilitate their own interest. And therefore, in 1914, when they amalgamated Nigeria into a political entity, they continue to govern it as two separate entities. And so you have the modern and democratic political administration in the southern part of Nigeria. The northern part continued to be governed as a customary system under the emirate system and other native authority. So the North developed that way, and permit me to also put on record that elections for the first time in the history of Nigeria since amalgamation took place in the North in 1959. So Northerners were only able to see the ballot paper in 1959, while the democratic, the elective principles was introduced in the South in 1921. So first election took place in 1921 in the South, and it continued until 1959, while the North continued under the emirate and native authority system until 1959. And again, the Northern Protectorate, which even though was united as part of Nigeria, had no opportunity to meet with their southern colleagues until 1947, when the Richardson Constitution was introduced. That paved way for a regional system of government with a central government. And so Northerners were allowed to select their representatives to go to the federal parliament in Lagos. So you can look at the gap between 1914 to 1947. And then in 1953, Enahera moved the motion for independence. That panicked Northern leaders. So they opposed the motion. And that opposition did not go down well with the southern members of the parliament. So it resulted into the crisis which led to the attack of northern leaders from the parliament building. And when they came back to the north, they said they were not going back to the Lagos again. And then the British persuaded southern leaders to come to the north and appeal to their brothers so that they can go back and continue with the process of the transition to independence. Chibaolo led the delegation to Kano, and after persuading the northern leaders, they were also attacked in Kano. And when they went back to Lagos, they also promised not to return to the north. So this political stalemate led to the Lancaster House Agreement, where the two political dichotomies, agreed to meet and resolve their issues. And so they agreed for a federal system of government, a federal power sharing arrangement of a weak center and very strong federating units. They also agreed to introduce the parliamentary system of government. So the parliamentary system of government and the federal structure, where you have a weak center and strong federating unit, was a consensus of Lancaster House. And therefore, for the military to jettison it in 1979 and introduce this presidential system with a very huge burden of administration, and which fertilizes corruption and unaccountability, because under the presidential system, it is only strong institutions that can hold the government accountable. But in the parliamentary system, the prime minister must account to the parliament on daily basis the health of his government. And if he loses out, the government will be dissolved. So I think going back to the old national anthem is the beginning, and we must also revert to the parliamentary system of government. And I wish the National Assembly the courage to be able to dismantle